Hi, I'm Jay Phelan. Let's learn some biology. First off, I want to apologize for this video. Have I really made a video about fiber? Do you really have to watch it? I don't know what to say. Class was going well, right? We were having fun, we were learning stuff. Where did we fly off the rails? I don't know. Nonetheless, I apologize. Fiber, dietary fiber. Just in case you feel a need to skip ahead, I'll save you the trouble. There's one take-home message to this video, and if you trust me that it's true and you don't bother with the rest, you'll probably be fine. Take-home message is this. Fiber, dietary fiber, has a huge number of significant benefits, and most people don't consume as much fiber as they should. You're still here. The video is about fiber. It's really about fiber, all right. All right, well, I warned you. We'll start with this observation we can make that we hear a lot about fiber. Somehow it's super beneficial and we need to know more about it and eat more, whether we're looking at books or websites telling you what you should eat, how you should eat better, or you're talking to your doctor, or you're listening to your teachers, or you see supplements that people have to their diet that are some form of fiber or another. You look at product packaging at the supermarket. So many different things are telling you, hey, you can get a high fiber version of this. Your pancakes and waffles are gonna be better. Hey, have these crackers, they've got fiber. This pasta is gonna be better for you, it's got fiber. This cereal, Fiber One, is gonna have all the fiber you need for the day. So you got books, websites, doctors, teachers, supplements, product packaging. What's the deal? It starts with a lot of epidemiological studies. These are the studies where you look at a bunch of people over a long period of time and you collect a lot of data. What do they eat? Who dies of what? And you follow them for a long time. From these studies, we see that there are dramatic benefits to fiber. You look at the risk of dying just as it relates to how much fiber you eat per day. So if you have 20 grams, you got about average risk of mortality. When you eat 40 grams of fiber per day, significantly reduced mortality of all causes. You're gonna live longer. Go up to 60 grams of fiber per day, and it gets even longer. For every 10-gram increase in fiber in your diet, your risk of death drops by about 12 to 15% per year. And these are studies based on about 400,000 people. It seems to be a pretty strong relationship. And another big study, large-scale study, the highest consumers of fiber were 22% less likely to die during this 9-year period of the study than the people who had the lower amounts of fiber in their diet. This is not a trivial thing. That's a significant impact on your life. We also see from the epidemiological studies that high fiber diets lead to significant weight loss. Look here, this is from a randomized controlled double-blind study. We see a significant change in weight from the people who are on the high fiber diet relative to those on the control diet. We also see, importantly, that high fiber consumption is associated with a reduced risk of heart disease. This is a big one. So you look at the relative risk, and it's 0.71. It means only 70% as likely to die if you have the high fiber diet. Stroke, same thing. Diabetes, same thing. The relative risk, about 0.8. So you're getting a tremendous benefit from the high fiber diet. Obesity, significant improvements. Colon cancer, dramatic reduction in the risk of colon cancer among people who have a higher fiber diet. But it doesn't stop there. You've got lower blood pressure. You also have improved immune function. So, take-home message that I mentioned already, fiber has a lot of significant health benefits. And what we see is that most people in the US, most people consume only about half as much fiber as they should if they were going to get all of those benefits. So what exactly is it? This is where it gets kind of strange. What is fiber? Well, it's defined as non-digestible carbohydrates and some related types of molecules. So they're not digestible by humans. What does that mean? Well, a very, very common one, cellulose. If you look here at cellulose, it is a macromolecule where you have Glucose connected to glucose, connected to glucose, connected to glucose, a bunch of simple sugars all linked together, just the way we see in complex carbohydrates, in starch, for instance. The difference is that in cellulose, you have this link between the individual monosaccharides that is the beta form, meaning that it goes up, then it goes down, goes up, then it goes down. Whereas in starch, you have the alpha linkage between the simple sugars. It goes down, then it goes up, goes down, then it goes up. This seems really trivial, but here's the thing. Humans don't have the enzyme to break that bond, that glycosidic linkage in cellulose. So what happens? Well, you put it into your body, and in order to get access to the simple sugars, you have to first cleave the bond and then break them down. But if you can't cleave the bond, they're stuck. Why can't you cleave the bond? Well, enzymes are these big molecules and they grab onto it, they facilitate the reaction. We don't have one that can bind to cellulose. We have one that allows you to break down starches. That's why they are a good source of energy in your diet. There are other types of fiber, things like pectin, things like lignin. I need you to memorize this structure. No, I'm kidding. A big deal about fiber is the fact that every plant cell is surrounded by a cellulose wall. That's one of the big differences between plant cells and animal cells, is that animal cells are all surrounded by a membrane, and that's it. Plant cells have a membrane, and then they have a cell wall. The cell wall is made out of cellulose. So think about that. All the plants on Earth, every cell in them surrounded by cellulose. Now we can get at what's inside the cell by just physical force, mashing it up, breaking it, but we don't have access to all that cellulose. Here's a picture where we look at a plant cell and they've dissolved away everything except for the fiber that was in the plant, and you see it's all over the place. It's a structural element that's important for the plant, and we don't get access to any of it. Here's a super technical kind of drawing, but it shows you these long tubules that are cellulose. So the molecule of cellulose, it kind of coils in a spiral, and you get multiple of these molecules, and they form sort of a scaffolding that makes up the cell wall of these plant cells. There's another version of it so that they look like corn on the cob. But the point is, it's a mesh that holds the cell in, keeps that cell from exploding, gives the plant all sorts of structural properties that are beneficial to them. There's another version, just an electron micrograph, but you can see that there are other polysaccharides as well. Pectin, glycan. We can't break them down and use them for energy. That's why they're fiber. Here's another one, they're in blue. You still see those microfibrils. So in our diet then, what does it look like? Where do we see it? Putting off for a second the fact that in our diet, we don't get any energy from it. That's odd, right? So, oh yeah, you got to get this thing that you're not going to get any nutrition from. You're not going to get any actual energy from. We'll talk about that in a second, why it could still have value, how it could still have value. In our diet, it looks like fruits and vegetables. It looks like, the skin on the tomato, all the cells of these whole grain foods, whether it is a type of bread or a muffin or a biscuit, they have high levels of fiber. Nuts and seeds and beans and peas, all sorts of different fruits and fruit skins. A lot of cereals you can get it from depending on how they're made. There are ingredients that come from plants, things like crunchy corn bran, if you can find it. I love that cereal. All bran buds, all sorts of other things, granola, types of seeds, shredded wheat, and so on. So how do we get the benefits? We know from the epidemiological studies that they exist. Long-term consumption of fiber leads to all sorts of great outcomes. But how? How do they work? There are about 5 distinct ways. I should say this here, though, that we don't really know exactly how fiber brings about tons of benefits. We don't know all the ways it works. We know some of the ways that it works, and people are still working on it. The first is this. With a high fiber diet, people reduce their caloric intake. Fiber-rich foods contain fewer calories, because all the mass that comes from the fiber, you don't get any calories from. And it also increases your satiation. So people stop sooner from high fiber foods when they're eating. That's good. Reduce caloric intake. Most people will benefit health-wise when they do that. It also improves your circulatory system. Fiber adds bulk in your diet. So in your digestive tract, this long, linear tube that moves through, Fiber adds stuff that doesn't go away as it's progressing through this digestive system because you're not breaking it down. So it adds bulk. When you have more bulk, then that causes your digestive tract to secrete more bile. Bile, remember, is going to help to pull out all the droplets of fatty acids and lipids that are non-soluble in water. By pulling them out and surrounding them, then your body can get at them. The enzymes can get at things to break them down. But with fiber, the fiber is moving through and there's other stuff stuck in there and the bile binds to it. Then it just eventually gets eliminated. So a lot of the bile gets eliminated along with some of the fatty acids, and it's made from cholesterol. And because we're not using it, breaking down the fat, then reabsorbing the bile and using it again, we're excreting it. It means that your body has to build more bile. How does it do that? It has to grab cholesterol from the bloodstream. Suddenly, you have a benefit because, whoops, we lost all that bile. That's because the fiber has all that bulk. You look and you see like the thickness of artery walls. This is a good predictor for heart disease because there can be buildup along the wall, there can be plaques, and what they do is they can narrow the inner diameter of the arteries, and that reduces the blood flow. Something that can improve your circulatory system, removing various types of lipoproteins from the circulatory system, cholesterol, can reduce the amount of these narrowings that you get. Keeps your circulation better, reduces your risk of heart attack, and all sorts of things. You see here, this is a really narrowed artery because you have so much buildup, and that comes from a lot of materials in the circulatory system that would be removed if you had more fiber in your diet. Third big mechanism by which it has these benefits is that it improves your blood sugar control. We know that diabetes is a real problem, and that comes from not regulating your insulin release so that you can pull sugar out of your bloodstream after you've eaten a meal. What it does is, when you have a lot of fiber in your diet, it slows the rate at which the stomach empties, and by doing that, by having a slower rate of this food get into your small intestine and then get absorbed and then get into the bloodstream, it reduces the intensity of this insulin pulse of, oh no, we've got all this sugar, we got to now move it to the cells. Therefore, your blood sugar control doesn't have as rapid a swing, and that's better for you. It also has a lot of benefits, fiber in your diet, for the gut microbiota. We have tons of microbes living in our digestive tract, and fiber feeds these gut bacteria. They can break it down, they can get energy from it. When there's less fiber in your diet, though, they'll start to eat the mucus on the surrounding walls of the colon, so they can get closer to the wall of the large intestine. And when they get closer to the wall, that then causes your body to think, oh no, we've got some microbe attacking us, this is bad, and it launches an immune reaction. We don't want to have immune reactions. We don't want to have the inflammation that comes from that. So by having fiber in your diet, you keep the gut bacteria happy and you don't trigger any of these immune responses. Fiber in our diet also helps stimulate waste elimination. So you have a larger mass in your digestive tract, the bolus that's moving down. Because there's a larger mass, that stimulates the smooth muscle around the tube that is your digestive tract, whether it's large intestine, small intestine, and the contractions push the bolus down and you eliminate the stuff that you're not going to be able to get anything from in your diet. You keep the functioning of your digestive tract working at a better rate. You can think of it in some ways. People talk about it as like a steel wool thing moving down the digestive tract, stimulating the walls of the digestive tract, pushing stuff down. There's water in there, there's bile, there's some other bits of the food that you consume moving through. All those things are beneficial to you. So our take-home message about fiber in your diet, this. It's got a huge number of significant health benefits. It really is an important thing that's pretty easy for most people to get the benefit from in their life. And most people don't consume as much as they should. Just after refreshing my memory on all the facts about fiber and looking at the data and how strong they are, I bought myself a case of Fiber One breakfast cereal. Pretty tasty, 19 bucks, 6 boxes, so that's probably better than anything, right? For me telling you that it really is beneficial and that we could eat more, that I've gone out and I've changed my behavior. I eat it sometimes, but I thought I got to increase the fiber in my diet. Maybe you should too. There you have it.
Fiber is in the right direction. Fiber helps you get along. Fiber helps you with digestion. Fiber's just a little song. It's one of those things we need every day. It's simple, it's easy, and we like to say it helps with digestion, and that's at the core. We get it from apples, broccoli, and more. Fiber is in the right direction. Fiber helps you get along. Fiber,
You're still here?
it helps you with digestion. Fiber's just a little.
It's over. Go home. Go.